Hello, my crafty friends. Well, today I have another fun fold card idea I want to share with you. And this one has some really simple interlocking panels. Hi, it's Lynn Dunn from Stamptastic Designs. Thanks so much for joining me today. In this episode of Stamptastic TV, I have two different card ideas I want to share with you that feature a just very fun and simple interlocking panel idea. And I have two different ways that you can use this fun fold in your card making. Now, the cards feature the Extraordinary Flora Bundle from Stampin Up. So this particular bundle has a stamp set and a coordinating die set. And this bundle also works with the Extraordinary Flora washi tape. So I'm going to show you how to use this washi tape because that is how I created all the beautiful florals for these cards. Okay, so this is the interlocking fun fold card that I'm going to just kind of walk you through. But these two front panels here actually interlock and it folds down flat for mailing. And then when you let go of the card, it just kind of stays up in this position here like this. And these two panels are interlocked. So you have two panels on the outside, and then you have an inside panel that you can write a little message on. And everything is decorated with the washi tape. So this card stands up beautifully for display. And then you can also interlock these two panels in the front and fold this down flat for mailing. So it really is a beautiful and very simple card to create. So let me show you how to make it. So you're going to start with a 5.5 by 10 3/4 inch piece of white cardstock. So basically we're going to do a little bit of scoring. We're going to put the 10 3/4 inch side at the top of the paper trimmer here. And we will start by scoring at 1 5/8 inches. Then scoot it over and score at 3 1/4 inches. Then we're going to score at 7.5 inches. And the last one we will score at 9 1/8 inch. All right, so once you have your paper scored, then it's just a matter of folding on the score lines. So we're going to fold in. So I'm going to start on this one end here. We're just going to fold on that second score line, and we're going to take that first score line and fold it back onto itself. So it's almost like you're creating a little Z-fold card on each side of this card base. So we'll do the same thing on this side. We'll use that second score line. We'll fold there first. And then we'll take this end score line and fold it back onto itself. So you get this fun little Z-fold style card, but it actually is like a gatefold and Z-fold all rolled into one. So that's what your card base should look like. All right, so the next thing we want to do is we want to create the little panels that are going to go on the front of this card base. So we're going to start by cutting a 3 by 5 inch piece of cardstock. So I'm using soft seafoam cardstock. And then you're going to cut a piece of white cardstock, which is 2 3/4 by 4 3/4 inches. So I actually embossed this piece of cardstock just using one of the Glass and Gardens embossing folders. So I'm using this one. There's two different embossing folders in this particular pack, but you can use any embossing folder that you want to. So we are just going to add some glue on the back here, and we're going to adhere these two pieces together. And then we're going to take this panel, and this is going to go on the left side of our card front. So I just have some glue on the left side, and I'm going to fold this down and just adhere it right to this left side of this flap here. So you want to use liquid glue for this first one just to adhere that piece. Now we're going to create this second panel. And for the second panel, you're going to cut a 2.5 by 4 inch piece of cardstock. So I'm using soft seafoam. And then you're going to cut a 2 1/4 by 3 3/4 inch piece of white cardstock and just emboss it with the same embossing folder. And we'll just adhere these two pieces together. All right, so now we are going to adhere this piece to the right side of this fun fold. So what I recommend is that you push this fun fold down into position. So you're going to actually have to hold this panel down. Then you're going to take this panel and you're just going to lay it on top just so that you can use it as a guide. And then you're going to take some dimensionals and you're going to place dimensionals right along, follow this small panel. So you're going to place them along this small panel. So I'll put one on the top and the bottom, and then we'll put the two in the middle. So you'll have 4 dimensionals, and this is where you're going to adhere this second panel. So we'll hold this down. All right, so that looks pretty good there. So we'll just smooth that down, and that gives you the interlocking panels. So you have this panel, which is adhered with dimensionals, and this panel, which is adhered with just liquid glue. So it kind of gives you 2 different layers, a flat layer and then this stepped up one that has the dimensionals underneath. So that's how you create the interlocking panels. And then this is what it looks like when you let it go. And when you push it down, it'll fold flat for mailing. And since we adhered this panel when this was pushed down, it fits perfectly in there up against, you know, the dimensionals that are under this side of the panel. Okay, so now let's go ahead and let's open this up and let's just add the inside panel right away. So for the inside, we have a 3 by 4 1/4 inch piece of the soft seafoam. So that is our inside piece. And then we have a 2 3/4 by 4 inch piece of white cardstock. So we can adhere these 2 pieces together. And then we'll just adhere this right to the inside of the card. All right, so basically you have 3 panels. You have the inside and then you have your 2 outside panels. And these panels interlock, and now we're ready to decorate our card. All right, so to create these little washi tape flowers, basically what I do is I just pull open this washi tape, and there's 2 different colors. There's the pink in here, and then there's some purple, which is the next set. So I just kind of cut along my washi tape in between these flowers. So I'm just using the pink ones for this particular card design. And then what I'm going to do is just adhere this to a piece of white cardstock. So I just have a 4 1/4 by 11 inch piece, and we'll just adhere this kind of towards the bottom here of this piece. So you can just add this to your white cardstock and then just kind of go along and smooth out the washi tape so that it's nice and flat and it doesn't have any bubbles in it. And then basically what you're going to do is you're going to take that Extraordinary Flora die, and it coordinates with this washi tape. So you just lay it right over the images that are on the washi tape, and then you just run this through your embossing machine and you can cut all these images out and use them in your card making. So I just created a little greeting for the outside just using one of the Textured Notes dies. So this piece is just going to go on this front panel, and then I stamped a little message on the inside as well. So what I want to do is I want to create a fun little bow. Let me bring back the original card. So I want to create this kind of frayed bow that's going to go behind the greeting. So I'm going to show you how I did that. So I'm just using some white ribbon. This is 1/4 inch white ribbon, and you'll want to cut about a 12 inch piece roughly. And basically to create that frayed look, I simply cut this ribbon in half. So instead of it being a 1/4 inch, I want it to be 1/8 of an inch. So you have to take your time and you have to slowly cut this ribbon in half. So you just take your scissors and just kind of go up through the center. And once you do that, you'll notice that it'll be very uneven and it'll kind of look messy. But that's the look I'm going for. So I'm going to show you what the final pieces look like. So it actually frays the ribbon and it gives you this kind of messy look, but you'll have two pieces. And what you want to do is just tie these two pieces together to create a bow. All right, so then you just kind of pull on these little ends and just create a kind of a bigger size bow, because we're going to put this behind our greeting. And I tend to offset my pieces a little bit. So my inside piece, I'll offset it so that you can see it a little better. And see how it gives just that frayed look? That's the look I want. So now let's bring back our card. And basically I want this bow to be on the front, and then I want my greeting to go over the top. So I'm going to add just a little glue dot to the back of this. And this is pretty much right where I want it. So we'll add a little glue dot there just to hold that in place. And I put some dimensionals behind the greeting, and we're going to go right over that knot. And you can leave your little ends hang out here. We're going to pull this down. All right, so now I have little dimensionals on the back of these little washi tape pieces, and I'm just going to tuck them in different spots behind this bow here. So we'll add this one. We'll tuck that in there. And then we'll just add this little leaf. We'll tuck that in the side. So that creates just a fun little design there. And then over on this side, I want to add some additional pieces. So on this side of the panel, I do not want to use any dimensionals. I'm just going to use a bit of liquid glue. So just add some liquid glue to the back. And we're just going to tuck this right here. So what I want is when this closes, I want you to still be able to see that flower on the side. So we're going to move this over just a little bit. And then we'll just tuck this little leaf image right in here as well. We'll push those down. And then that will be our basic design. See how pretty that looks? So we'll open this up and we will add our additional pieces on the inside. So I'm just going to use a small leaf. We'll just use liquid glue and add the little leaf here. Then for this little flower, I just added a little glue dot on the back, and then we'll just stick that on there. All right, so this is the card created in portrait style. And then I also have a card created in landscape style. So this card opens this direction, and the panel, this bottom panel, tucks behind this top panel. And of course, our portrait style opens sideways, and the side panels tuck together. This panel tucks in there. So the fun thing about this is it's the exact same card design. It's just that instead of decorating it in portrait style, I simply turned the card and decorated it in the landscape style so that it'll open this way instead of sideways. So the fun thing about creating it in portrait or landscape style is the measurements are exactly the same. The only change is that you're just decorating it in a different orientation. Okay, so there you go. Now you have two different ways that you can use this fun fold design in your card making. And if you enjoyed these card ideas, feel free to download the printable tutorial. You can find the link in the description below this video. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know by liking it and sharing it with your friends. And leave me a comment below to let me know what you enjoyed most about the video and the cards shared here today. Have a fun and creative day, my friends. Take care.